your service. Do we say it because it's the thing to do, or do we put any thought behind it? And this kind of says one thing. One way to honor a vet is to hire a vet. Because even though I'm going to show you there's improvement, there still is disparity amongst vets in terms of their hiring, their homelessness, and also their health as well too. There has been some progress that has been made. Veterans now are at the lowest unemployment rate since 2018. So there is some progress, but there can be more that can be made. Also, there's also been a drop in the homelessness of vets, as you can see, but one homeless vet is one too many. So we want to continue to keep our eyes on that. So if you say thank you for your service, have any of us lent our hand for what we can do. And I was proud to see that Mayor Barrett yesterday announced that we're building those many houses for the vets on 60th and Florist. Also, in terms of gender, female veteran unemployment rate is lower than men's. So we certainly, from a gender perspective, we've also made some progress in terms of veterans. Okay, Jamisha, that
yeah.
Okay, all right. So what I'd like to do right now is bring up to the stage the person that we're going to have a discussion with, and we'll allow you to also have interaction with us as well. I'd like to ask Seth to come up, please. If you wouldn't come up, please. Okay, I'd like to ask Lawrence to come up and Marcie to come up. Give them a hand because.
Annoying big brother.
He's so an annoying big brother. Later.
He's just an annoying big brother. I swear. But I love him dearly.
We're family though.
I know.
Oh. Do I have to go back to work?
Yeah.
This feels good. That's what I wanted to. Ladies and gentlemen, as I told our audience out there, you know, I really don't like the formal straight line type panel. So this is, you know, let's just say it's the three of us in my family room with 40 of our closest friends listening. So, so that's really what it is. And I'd like you to really share your mind, share your heart. You know, some of the things that we're going to be discussing today. We'll give them time to also talk with you as well too from the audience. So, you know, if there's anything that can enlighten, you know, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So what I'd like to do is to start off so that everybody can kind of get to know each one of you just a little bit. So can you really introduce us again to the branch of service that you serve in, the length of time that you serve, and want to just share briefly about what motivated you to join the military, what was your primary job, we call it MOS, Military Occupational Specialty, after completing basic and advanced training, and where did you serve the majority of your time in service? So, Seth, tell me a little bit about, you know, if I recall correctly, you said you were in the, I can't remember, was it Navy?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
I remember the Navy, okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry to hear that, that's okay.
Wasn't all bad. Okay, so I served about 4 years, 9 months in the U.S. Navy. I was motivated to join kind of out of, you know, desperation. I didn't have direction in my life. I needed, you know, something to invest my, you know, be passionate about, and the Navy gave me an outlet there. I joined the Navy because that's what my father was in. He did 20 years in the U.S. Navy. And, yeah, I mean, I was a Master at Arms, which is security forces. When you're in the States, we did a lot of police work, physical security for naval installations. And then when I went overseas, we did a lot of anti-terrorism force protection. We do, you know, security for convoys and high-value assets. So. And spent most of my time in the South Pacific, bouncing from ship to island. So.
Good. Thank you. Lawrence?
Okay. I was Army for 3 years, stationed in Germany, throughout Germany, so I got to visit a few different places throughout Germany, Italy, and Russia. Deployed out of Wisconsin, basic was Fort Leavenworth, Missouri, and AIT was for Belgrade. MOS was 52 Delta, and
Tell us what that is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's Greek to them.
my fault. Sorry.
I'm talking to you. It's us talking, I'm trying to straighten the boat. I'm trying to help them out.
You're right. 52 Delta is power generation repair. So basically, we were the power section for whatever you're going to do out in the field or supply your unit with power for your basic needs. Once again, I was Germany, and I was in for 3 years.
Did you tell us what motivated you to join?
Motivation to join was literally I just was ready to do something a little different than what I was doing at the time. I was working for a journal.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the midst of getting married and the whole nine. I wanted something that I could literally take with me when I come out with something I could work off of as far as the future and for my family.
Thank you. Thank you. Marcie, let her.
I was United States Navy. And honestly, and it used to make me kind of feel bad when we used to sit around in a circle and, everybody wants to know what motivated you to join the Navy, because honestly, I only did it to get out of Milwaukee. I was just tired of it. That's like, I feel bad because, you hear all these people say, I joined to serve my country and I joined to do something. No, I joined to get out of Milwaukee. That's what I did. And also because, to see the world for free. I mean, what other job can you find where they're going to pay you to sit on a ship and see some stuff for free? Like, you're not going to find that everywhere. And then my cousin, he actually came from California because he was trying to get into the military, and they told him that they couldn't get him into boot camp out in San Diego. So the quickest way for him to get in was if he moved from there to Milwaukee, because boot camp was right in Great Lakes. So he came, moved. I got to talk to his recruiter, and he came to my house one Saturday, sat down, talked to me at my mom's dining room table, and wrote out a list. He had a list of all these countries on one side, a list of about 2 or 3 different houses in different cities, a couple cars, and he said, so you see all these countries? Like, I've seen all these for free on the government's dime. He's like, you see all these properties? I own all these free and clear. I just pay taxes on them. All these vehicles, I own them free and clear, and the government helped me pay for all of this. He was like, so I'm asking you, do you want this or do you want nothing? So I said, okay, sign me up. So that's what I did. I got in. I started as what they call a deck seaman, which is basically grunt work, busting rust, painting and priming and keeping the ship clean. Tested and rated as a signalman, which is basically all of our nonverbal communication. So that would be semaphore, flashing lights, flag communication between ship to ship if ever normal communication ever went down. Unfortunately, they merged us with quartermasters, who are the individuals who map our course on the ship, and I'm not good with maps and directions, so that was not the job for me. So I cross-rated to personnelmen, which is basically office work, filing, keeping track of records, pay, travel, all that. Then they merged us with DKs, dispersing clerks, which deal more with the pay side of the military, which then we all became PS. So for a while, I kind of thought that I might have been a bad luck too, because every rate I went to, they merged us with somebody else and we changed. So majority of my time was spent in San Diego on board the USS Comstock LSD 45, which is a marine transport ship. So basically the only reason why we even existed was to transport Marines and Army in their vehicles to wherever the conflict was.
You're like Uber.
And then I went to personnel support detachment afloat, San Diego, and then I ended my career at the Balboa Naval Hospital in San Diego.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Marcie, how long were you there?
I did 6 active and 2 inactive.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, and the motivation is very important. And again, being honest with that, I joined to get out of going to Vietnam. That's why I joined the Air National Guard, because I was going to be drafted over there, and that was a very unpopular war. So I just like it. Now, if I could ask my trusty assistant, Vanna White, if you would probably. Now, what we're going to show you now is a video clip. We think it's going to set the scene for the next part of our discussion. I will say when I let some of the members, all of the members previewed it, one of our participants got real emotional over this, so it may be emotional a little bit. for that person, and maybe even for myself, it was a little bit emotional, but we do want to explore that on why that is with the clip. So, Jamisha, you're on. Not that one, the other one.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, I have two different.
Where's Aaron?
That's different.
You just tap on it.
Just go to
When September 11th happened, I remember
it's not.
I know, right?
So, what?
This is definitely military, you know, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. That's a good one.
Yeah, next one.
So while we're waiting for them, let's just continue on so we don't have the dead silence here. Let's talk about something that's very passionate for me, and that is about diversity and inclusion. Let me just set the stage and say when I got in the military, I got in Wisconsin, and there were 10,000 soldiers in the Wisconsin Army National Guard, and I was one of 5 blacks in the whole state that when I got in. And so I certainly was in a company of 200 where I was the only black person in there during that particular time. And of course, as involved, we know segregation didn't start in the military until after World War II. In fact, by President Roosevelt, that he said that we were going to integrate the Army. And so certainly even in the Korean conflict, there were still, so that we still had all black and all, females were segregated, we had blacks, and we had, those type things. So, but I'm sure you all had experiences in terms of maybe what the military did for you in terms of about diversity. So can you talk about the difference that you saw within the military that you experienced versus the civilian world? And again, talk to me. It doesn't have to be in any order. Whoever wants to talk to me. And I think I see Marcie ready to. No. So who'd like to talk about that a little bit? Give me some feedback on that. Your thoughts. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So diversity in the military. For me, when I got to go overseas, I got a lot of experience with diversity as far as the various people throughout the country itself, from across the nation, America. You get the various aspects of each particular state's personality. That aspect in itself was eye-opening in regards to just the difference that we as Americans are from coast to coast. Going overseas and meeting soldiers from the German Army, Russian Army, things like that, those were very much so good experiences for being just submerged in a different type of atmosphere. So for me, the diversity was just meeting various soldiers throughout the states. The differences between, let's just say, Wisconsin to Missouri. It's the difference in the mentality. It's the difference in how you conversate. It's the difference in the tone or the use of verbiage. So it's a lot of things you take for granted or you don't think about when it comes to that diversity.
So let me follow up with you, Lois. So did you? So was it all peaches and cream for you when it comes terms of in the military, or did you have any? Did you see any adversity because of diversity that you saw, or you yourself?
It wasn't peaches and cream. It was the military. So I would say I've had good and bad experiences in the military as far as my time. My time, I had a good experience with people. I would say the worst part would be the actual duty station. I was Air Defense Artillery, and we call it altogether different Army. It's just a little different. So what you're taught in basic and AIT, ADA, you're not following those particular guidelines as much as you're expected to, or you think you should be. So that kind of created some hang-ups for me because we were taught one thing and we were experiencing another. That's
Boot camp's never the real. Boot camp's never the
AIT.
real military. Boot camp's never the real military.
AIT was the same. So I mean, it was, for me, those were my areas that I would say I had a good and bad experience.
Okay. Marcie, you know, I remember that it's been since about the 80s where they really have integrated women into the military, where they could actually serve, you know, at least in the Army, they used to have separate basics for women, separate for men. And it was just even in my unit that they started to even let women come into, I was in the infantry brigade. And so with that, I saw a lot of dynamics because of that. You know, sometimes women weren't necessarily treated as equals in there. And so I think, and today, of course, they weren't even, just up until just very recent last couple of years, were allowed to lead companies and battalions and squadrons into battle. And a lot of it has to do politically because of who is in Congress, which is basically men. They don't want to protect the women. So talk to me a little bit about you being a woman, and then I know you came in the latter years, but talk to me about some of that too, as a woman compared, you know, it used to be CVs where they were kept. So talk to me about that a little bit.
It was, I don't want to say it was all difficult, but it was at times, especially when you have a female who is of a higher rank, let's say, because I was what they call enlisted, and then, you know, we had our officer side, and it gets kind of hard when you have females who have worked as hard as they have to get to a certain point, but then I guess you could say that some of them did become jaded because they did get to the position where they are, but they had a real hard time assisting other females to also reach that pinnacle because I guess they didn't want to lose their spot. So I did find a little pushback from a couple of females that I met who were of a higher rank in the military who I thought would have been there to assist me and help me, but really they were just trying to make sure that I stayed in my spot and didn't try to come for their spot. So with that, I think that also comes with, you know, the military being so diverse, but not necessarily as integrated as we would like, because it's still hard for females to get those coveted higher positions and to hold on to them. So they don't want anybody, whether it's a man or a woman, coming in and taking their spot, especially if they've worked as hard as they have to get it. So that was my experience. The majority of the time with most females in higher positions, it was a pushback. But I mean, there were some that I was able to find that were willing to help me study and advance and try to get to where I was trying to go in my career, that wasn't worried about me stepping on their toes so I could advance. They were willing to help me on their shoulders and push me higher, even if I did, let's say, pass them. They were still willing to help me get there. So you can find it sometimes, but it's rare and far and few in between. So.
And let me say that just now I just read that there's a female colonel in the Marines is going to be the first general. This is 2019, the first female general that they're going to be having. She'll be that's going to happen. So.
Yes, we're about set.
We're about set here?
Yes.
Seth, did you have anything to add?
No. I mean, as far as what Marcie was saying, I think she kind of touched on a lot of what I remember about the military was leadership. And your situation where you saw some, you know, leaders that were a female that, you know, would help you or try to help you out, and some wouldn't. They would try to make it tougher for you. And that's kind of like a good indication of a lot of the leadership in the military.
When September 11th happened, I remember where
people kind of reflect the leadership that they received. And you see that a lot in the military, you know, on all fronts really, where you were treated harshly and you had to kind of fend for yourself, so other people think that's how they got to treat their subordinates when they get into a position of power. And it kind of, you know, the cycle continues. So.
I was never, especially once I made like E4, once I made third class and I had people who were under me, like I tell them all the time, I'm never gonna ask you to do something I wouldn't get down and do myself. I'm not gonna ask you to get on your hands and knees and scrub with the toothbrush if I'm not willing to get down there with you and do it myself. So don't ever worry about me asking you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. But I'm asking you to do it, it's for a reason. And then it got to the point to where, like, my mother always asked me, so you really do cuss like a secular? Because sometimes that's all they understand. Like, sometimes that's all they understand. There only is only so many times I can ask you politely to take that box and move it over there. Can you please take that box and move it over there? Okay, guys, look, I'm going to ask you one more time. Take the box and move it up. Take the effing box! So we can go home. And by that time, then they get it. And then we come home and it's fine. You know.
Okay, I think we're up. I told you we'd keep it real. Okay, Jamisha, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, please, start.
When September 11th happened, I remember the feeling it was like a very personal attack on us as a country. I wanted to do something impactful. I wanted something that had a meaning behind it. And certainly the Army, there was meaning there.
When you're at sea, it's your primary concern as an engineer is to keep the ship moving forward and keep the lights on, and you don't have time to be afraid. You have a job to do.
My first job at 23 in the Army was in charge of 100 people and millions of dollars worth of equipment. You know, you had such an important job that giving it up, it's really hard to figure out where you fit after that.
I don't ever know what to say when somebody says thank you for your service. Because I don't think they even know what they're thanking me for, because I don't know what they're thanking me for.
I think my response normally is, you're welcome. I gained way more from it than I lost.
Don't thank me for my service, because it's cliche and it's normalizing, and it almost seems now obligatory.
I don't like it when people thank me for my service. It sounds like you've done your part, you're done with service, thank you so much, and now move along. I had been a helicopter pilot, I had been an S6. I expected when I came out that I was just going to be, having to decide which of the jobs that I wanted.
I applied for 800 jobs. 100 to get one. And it's like that experience in the Army didn't count. It was like null and void.
Exactly.
Hero? No.
No, I did not consider myself to be a hero.
No. Not by a long shot. To my kids.
It's a small number of people who deserve that.
There's around 7,500 heroes between Iraq and Afghanistan.
I don't think that you can thank a hero because they're not here.
I don't think I did anything that was heroic or did anything special for anybody. I had a lot of anxiety when I came home, which was weird because you'd think that you'd have more anxiety being overseas, but it was transitioning back home that was pretty hard for me.
It's not having a network or not knowing where I belong, not knowing where exactly I fit in. It's pretty much you're plopped down and it's like, okay, on your way now.
When I first got back from Iraq and Afghanistan, I had to deal with a perception of who I was as a veteran. The vast majority of civilian perception of veterans is that we're broken, that we're riddled with PTSD, or that we have so little skills that all we can do is knuckle drag.
Right. I hadn't quite realized that people were looking at me that way, that not only am I a big guy, that I'm the sort of a weapon because I was in the military.
It's a stereotype, that's all it is. You probably pass 1,000 veterans a day and you have no idea that they're veterans because they just act like normal human beings.
The majority of us, the overwhelming majority of us, are positively impacted by our service because it brings strengths and attributes and skills out of us.
Veterans are entrepreneurial, they understand diversity, they're incredible leaders.
So many of us have been through really, really weird and tough situations, and we're such better persons for them. And if you're a hiring manager, you know a hiring manager, say, hey, our next hire should potentially be a veteran. That's really the best way that you can say thank you.
Don't thank me. Let's talk about how we can make society better for veterans who are having a hard time reintegrating.
There are better things to say, like, oh, you were in the military. What did you do? How long did you serve?
Tell me about your service. But don't ask that if you don't really care or you don't want to know the answer. But if you do, feel free to ask it. that's a way that we close this divide, right? Is share these experiences with each other.
Please don't thank me, join me. Come out and serve with me and see the fact that I'm not done serving. I'm not even close. Thank me when I'm done at the end of the day. Thank me 50 years from now for all the things that we did together. Don't thank me now for what I did in the past.
Okay, now I want you to exhale. Let's explore this a little bit. We may let the audience talk back with us during this part a little bit too, because I think that a lot was said, and of course the title of that was the military-civilian divide. And so certainly, as I watched that, as you watched that, I just want to let's talk out a little bit about maybe what your thoughts, the messages that those veterans talked about. And so, can any of you relate to any of that, what they said? And I saw even out here, I saw some nonverbals as well too, that are veterans out in our audience about how it kind of touched them as well too. So talk back to me a little bit about, can you relate or identify with anything that any of those veterans talked about? Okay.
I should probably go last. I disagree with a lot of what was said.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I understand why the people in that video, feel the way that they do, but I think a lot of the issues that I think they're dealing with is not being proud of their time in, not being proud of their service. Mm-hmm. And when when someone thanks you for their service, it may not be personal to your service, but it's personal to the person thanking you, because you're a representation of their cousin or their brother, their uncle, their grandfather, somebody that served the country, someone they know, someone they care about, and they are appreciative of what you do. Nobody's story in the military is the same. So it's not going to be personalized to you, but it's generalized for the act.
Okay.
I used to feel the same way when people used to thank me for my service, and it used to make me feel kind of weird at first because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I should say thank you or because to me it was a job that I did. It wasn't that I needed you to thank me; it was something that I did. But then I had to step back and realize that, like they said, only 1% of people have served in the military. So I'm a special 1%. So I understand why you're thanking me, because you couldn't do what I did. A lot of people couldn't do what we did. So I understand where the thank you comes from. So now I just say you're welcome and just go about my day, because I understand why they're thanking me. It's not because of me, it's just because of what I did, or because of what we did. So I get it.
So you think that we let people off the hook? Something they sit on here. Some people don't even know what they're saying; they're just saying it. That it's hollow. That it's a thing to do. Like somebody asks you how you feel, and you say fine. You feel like crap, actually.
Right.
So do you think in that particular case that America, everybody is really just thanking you for the service, that they really understand what they're thanking you about?
Yeah, at times when things like Veterans Day and 4th of July, things like that come along, I think people just say it to be saying it. But I think if it's just, not out of the blue, but like when random people, when they do find out I'm a veteran, they do thank me, I think it is genuine. I don't think it's just empty or hollow. But I think when it comes around like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, things like that, sometimes they can be kind of hollow, but I think it's only because they do think it's just the right thing to do. So,
talk to me.
I agree with that. Talk to me. On the Veterans Day side, you get a lot more of the thank yous and things like that, but I think it's more obligation rather than them actually appreciating that particular service. So when you get that statement, at times, like you said, some parts of this, I do agree with. Some parts, like you said, I can't 100% agree with. But it is something that, for me, when most people I don't really mention my status. So if I never talk to them about it, they really wouldn't know. So when I do get that, it's most times just that. It's genuine because they found out that somehow or another either conversation came up or they found out from somebody else or whatever, but that's when I'll get something that's genuine. Otherwise, it is one of those things where you don't know what to say, you know what I mean? Because it's something like Marcie said, it's something we did, it's a choice we made. We served that time and we did it in a way that we felt was best. But that was it. It was something we chose to do. It wasn't an obligation, or it wasn't something that I did for accolades or anything of that nature. It was just something I chose to do. And it's something I went through and I enjoyed. I got definite benefits out of it. But it is always a little awkward when I do get that stuff.
So let me just say, so why do you choose not to really talk a lot about your service and kind of keep till it comes up? Is there something that you can share with us and that maybe how you feel that is?
For me, I just never really think to bring it up.
Okay.
It's just something that I did in my past, and it's a part of my history.
Okay.
I really don't bring it up or discuss it out of any particular reason. It's not a negative thing or anything of that nature for me. It's just not something I bring up.
Something to bring up. Okay. I was getting to that point. So I think that is a good point about that. So we got your feedback on this, which is thank you very much for intimately sharing, how you really feel about that. So yes, would you like to? You have a question for them? Or you have a statement for the
Yeah.
You want to come into our family room?
So I was gonna say that what was your name?
Seth.
Seth. So I can agree with mostly what you said, but I think there were two things that they hit on there of the reason why. And one was obligation. So whenever they do, when it's out of a sense of obligation, and one was don't ask unless you want to hear, right? Like so, and that goes back to what you said. That's why I don't tell people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm not proud of it, because I'm extremely proud of it, but I'm not going to run around just saying it, right? And then I just get that feeling sometimes that people are just saying it, so I'm not going to expound upon what it is that I did.
Because it's a lot to do that, especially when you have to talk to civilians who don't understand what you've been through. You have to stop and explain, okay, well, this means this and this means
because
that.
it's
But
emotional.
Story.
It's deep. It's not something that you just do. I mean, although we've made that choice, it's deep and it's emotional. And unless you care, don't ask me that question.
Right.
Because I'm not going to share that with you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Darren?
And I guess I agree with it is, first of all, when people say good morning, it becomes like just this thing you say because we caught eyes, good morning. So that's one element of it. It just becomes kind of trite. Mm-hmm. And then, I think back to my uncle, who's a Vietnam vet, 4 times tour, and the way they were treated when they came back was a whole different scenario. So, and it's arguable they did a lot more with a lot less, and nobody thanked them. Mm-hmm. And so for when I think about my service, I didn't, I had my own struggles, but Vietnam was a very, very, very serious, and people came back damaged.
Yeah.
And so I guess that would be the other side of it, is that now it's like the flavor of the day now. That's how I'm feeling. Like now everything is, and I think a lot of it's where it's coming from, and I think a lot of it with the whole 9/11, it's like we needed that. It's kind of sad that we needed to be, that we had to be attacked on home for us to start recognizing the people who have sacrificed to be in the service. So it's, like I said, it's bittersweet. If it's coming from a place of genuine, then I can get it. But then if it's just, hey, good morning, hey, how you doing? And it just becomes just, because it's the PC thing to do, then just keep it.
I think, if you don't mind me saying something about that.
Please.
I don't know if you're involved in veteran organizations or anything, but from what I've seen, a lot of the Vietnam vets that I know and I interact with at the American Legion, I see that, like you said, they did not get a good welcome home. They did not get they went through some very bad things, and not to the fault of their own.
Right.
And from what I've seen a lot of appreciation from those Vietnam vets for the younger generation vets, getting the appreciation that we get. And I think that helps them get some closure too, that they made an impact. Because a lot of the changes in the veteran-civilian interactions has come from, Vietnam veteran activists and, pushing the, support of the veteran community. And I think that gives them a lot of, satisfaction.
Sure.
As well, I think another thing that you kind of hit on was, comparing service, whereas, anybody that served after Vietnam can't compare to, you know, reading those jumpers. And then you serve even Vietnam vets, World War II, you know, storming Normandy. You know, you can't compare that kind of thing. And, you know, there's, you know, a different weight of your service, but there's not a different intrinsic value. Because you signed up, you put your name on the dotted line. We signed up, we put our name on the dotted line. Opportunity came to someone to serve in a different capacity than the other. Doesn't change what decision you made to join.
Right.
So.
After I take that hand, I think there'll be a good time to segue to the second, which we can dig in deeper to that thought. And that one is really emotional for me. I saw a hand back here.
Yes.
Yes, please.
I'm Darlene. Everyone, how's everyone doing? I would like to say for the when people say thank you, you know, I don't know, but for me, if I say thank you, it is a genuinely felt heart thank you. My brother served. He in the Navy on the USS Carl Vinson. Yeah, and he went through hell. Just a month, not off ship, but on ship. He was 17. He went straight in right out of high school, and just being on the ship with different people, different ethnic groups. They fought him, they did every kind of thing, and it's like you guys supposed to work together. So listening to his stories from just being on the ship with his shipmates was very hard for him to deal with. And then I volunteered at the Veterans Hospital years ago, and it's sad to walk through and see the people that served in the Vietnam Wars that came back home and they're disfigured bodies. So if I say thank you, it is truly heartfelt, and I would just simply wish you guys wouldn't just think that people are just saying thank you, it's a random word, because I mean, you see the stories, you watch the TV, you read the news, you see it on TV. I mean, we know that is no picnic for you guys. It is not a picnic at all. I mean, because you're dealing with so many different things. Before you even have to go on the battlefield, you're dealing with all the different personalities of the people who you are serving with. And some of the personalities are not good ones. So when I say thank you, trust me, it is a heartfelt thank you, guys. Very heartfelt thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Gary.
I mean, and it's not, I don't think it's a blanket statement that everybody that says it. I mean, we all, as intelligent individuals, know when somebody's just being trite.
You know the difference.
You know the difference. Like if I said, "Oh, you look good today," you know, and, "Oh, you look great today," you know, it's all about delivery, and it's all about, you know.
Situation.
Well, I mean, as an individual, I know when somebody's sincere and when somebody's not sincere. You know, and you're right, it's subjective, but you know, I think that I'm a pretty good judge of character, and in my experience, that I know when somebody is being trite or just doing it because it's the flavor of the day.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you. We'll put a pin when you were at Seth, but let's tee up the next one. This one's.
Can I help you?
Just a cup of coffee, please.
Coming right up. There's no charge.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Thanks again.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Can I take a picture?
Sure.
Alright, smile. There you go. Sir, my son would like to ask you a question. Are you a hero too? That man said you were.
best I could.
Can we take a picture?
Sure.
Smell it. You say, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
I get you a refill.
Well, team, group, you know, let me tee it up here a little bit. You know, this one gets to be very emotional for me because that guy sitting at the counter was me. And I tell this story a lot, that I did get in 71 during Vietnam. And at that time, when I was in the Army National Guard, if I had to stop by the store, I would go home, take off my uniform, and go back to the store because there was no thank you. The second part that's emotional for me is when we talk about thanking people for it, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. And I'm talking about countrywide now. PTSD, Agent Orange, all denied. Okay, main field, services to veterans, denied. Pretty much limited. Came back maimed from sitting on a war that we weren't equipped to do. My brother-in-law has struggled with alcoholism since Vietnam. And so, and we think there's definitely the effects, the government said there was no Agent Orange at that time. So when we say thank you for your service, without saying just say thank you, but what are we doing to say thank you for this? And you teed it up very good, Seth, and saying you can't compare Vietnam with those who serve now coming out of Iraq, Iran, Grenada, all of those. So I want you to talk to me a little bit about it. You see that handshake was sort of, I think that's sort of trying to bridge the divide with that. So I want you to talk to me about, again, what you thought, your thoughts are in terms of about after seeing that particular spot right there.
For me, it was the same way. When I was in the service, I met a few different vets from different eras. The vet that stayed out with me most was 371st, Iron Horse. He basically took us through a lot of different things that took place, and just not understanding was the biggest thing, and being helped to understand how drastically different coming home was for you compared to us coming home or any other era coming home. The Vietnam vets they did not get the respect they deserved, and you did not get the thank yous or the accolades or any of that type of information in regards to just acknowledgement. We do truly appreciate that because the things that you went through, and like you said, the service is being limited, denied, things that took place being denied. That's a horrible experience for you. And we I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I truly do. I don't even have words to say thank you for your service.
Well, I'm not looking for that, but I just want to have a dialogue about what we saw and about what different people still bring to the workforce with those things, especially if they're distant, or they come with a different demeanor because of experience. All of us have different experiences, so that's the reason I kind of bring that up, as well too in this era. I'd like to hear from. I know Seth's going to talk to Marcie. Do you have anything at all? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to try not to get emotional because it gets me emotional because it makes me upset and angry that these men were treated so poorly when they came home, and all they were doing was following orders, doing what they were told to do, told to go to a country they had no idea about, to go try to help protect these people they had no idea about. And they came back and got spit on and kicked around and disrespected, and it's like, for what? Because you wouldn't have went over there and did it, but they had enough gumption, enough, excuse my French, balls to sign on the dotted line and go over here and do this. And you have the audacity to spit in their face when they come home, because, like I said, half of the civilians who did that to them, they wouldn't have done it. So it just makes me upset to know that it's taken these men this long to get, I don't necessarily say their recognition, but just for them to know that they are seen and they are heard and they are valued and they are appreciated. That it's taken them so long to get to this point. That's the thing that makes me upset because, like Mr. Al said, he used to have to go home and take a different off just to go to the store. I book a coach ticket on an airline and go to the airport in my uniform and they upgrade me to first class with no question. How fair is that? So just things like that get me upset and get me emotional. But and I know you're not looking for thanks, Mr. Al, but thank you, sir. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
I mean, it's an emotional video. I've seen that a couple times, and each time it brings me, you know, some waterworks working, trying to come out. But I think what I see in that video is a lot of, like what they said, you know, frustration, anger, and, you know, disappointment in what happened after Vietnam veterans came back and returned from that war. And I also I'm kind of an optimist, so I like to see that. I don't know how long that guy was hiding his service, because I mean, how long do you think he was hiding that tattoo? And seeing just when he rolled it up a little bit to show Vietnam, that's a big moment for him, and being able to, you know, resolve that I served, I'm not different, you know, I'm not a bad person. So I mean that's kind of like the silver lining I see in that video, where slowly kind of taking the brakes off and letting Vietnam vets kind of come on with that.
Thank you. Does anybody from the audience have any questions so far? We'll take a pause right here. Any comments to our panelists or any other veteran? Yes, please.
In the video, what I saw was he didn't hide it because the other soldier saw it and he went down to sit down. The little boy came back. And, well, the little boy was asking the other soldier, let me take a picture with you. And he was feeling bad, you know, sad, because he really rubbed it. He wasn't hiding.
I'm not saying he was hiding. I'm saying that at the top of the tattoo, it had the Vietnam, and then that was like under his sleeve. And when he heard, thank you, you know, can we take a picture with you? He rolled it up so Vietnam showed. His company picture insignia was showing, but it didn't have the Vietnam. So when he rolled it up to reveal the Vietnam, then he rubbed it, and it was, however you interpret it, that's fine. But the way I interpreted it was like he was finally like able to show I served in Vietnam, not just I served at this company. So I mean that's how I took it, and I mean everyone puts their own, you know, frame on every picture. So that's, I don't know, it felt like a, you know, closure kind of thing for me, because he was able to wear that tattoo fully with pride. So
yes.
I have one more thing. For the men and women that serve in the services, I know, again, a lot of it is very emotional for you guys, the things that you go through. So how willing are you guys to seek out therapy when you get out of service?
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
It's not easy. And why is it not that easy? I mean, is it something that you're just afraid to seek out, or I mean, a lot of people put different labels on seeing a therapist.
More often than not, it's not that they aren't willing to seek it out. It's one that majority of, well, I don't know about the Navy, but I know majority of my friends who I knew in the Marines and the Army, they were, I don't want to say brainwashed, but they were basically like trained to think that there's nothing wrong with you. Like when you get like, there ain't nothing wrong with you. So when you get back, that there is something wrong with you, but you've been told for these many years that there's nothing wrong with you. You don't think that there's anything wrong, so you don't think you need to go seek help until something happens. Then everybody looking at you like you crazy. Like, what's wrong with you? There's nothing. I was told there's nothing wrong with me. So what? So you know, once you actually figure out there is something wrong, then it comes with the resources and the way the VA and the Veteran Affairs Office and the VA hospitals are set up. Sometimes, even now, still, you can't get in for appointments. Like, I just made an appointment to go see my primary doctor. I made this appointment 3 months ago. My appointment ain't until the 20th of this month. And this is to go see my primary doctor, the doctor who's supposed to check on me to make sure there's nothing wrong with me. But the closest appointment 2 months ago was the 20th of this month.
And that's through the VA?
Yes.
And
But we can't go outside and see outside doctors unless you pay for insurance through your job, and then you still have to pay for that. So are you gonna pay to go see an outside doctor, or are you gonna use your free medical and go wait and see one of their physicians?
And I actually think that is one of the problems. As I said, when I volunteered there, some of the stuff that I saw there, people sitting in a hallway. I mean, we had people that actually asked, sitting in a hallway waiting to see the doctor. Yeah, I mean, and then they send you out with a big bag of pills, and that's supposed to fix
everything.
Everything, you know. So it was really, like I say, when I say thank you, I honestly mean thank you, because it's really sad to see how some of the veterans are treated. You know, even you serve the country, you know, and then this is the treatment.
That used to scare the life out of me before I got in. When I used to see the homeless men standing on the corner from the entrance, exit of the off ramps with signs, good work for food, homeless veteran. I said I would never join the military. I said I'm not gonna end up like that. I said they got me messed up. Didn't serve my country and put my life on the line to come back to be treated like this. I said I would never join the military. But then I did, and now I'm here. Luckily, thank goodness, I was able to find a company like MCFI who was willing to take a chance on me, even though it took me. I got out in 2007. I didn't get this job until 2 years ago. So from 2007 until about 2 years ago, I have been looking for a job until I found this job.
Yes, I think one of you two, I think, had something that you had to say.
I was just going to touch on the first part of the question where you were asking why, people don't seek out therapy or, treatment. I mean, it could be a million different things, really. But, I mean, the best way I could think about it, it's like when you're angry and you're holding on to something, you could be holding on to a knife and you'd be just mad, right? You're just holding so tight, but you start dripping blood down and you don't realize it at first, right? You're just holding on. You're holding on for whatever reason. And you're causing more damage to yourself than you're doing good, but you don't realize it because you're not thinking about what's hurting you. You're thinking about the anger or whatever you're holding on to. And, I mean, it could be something different for everybody else, but that's at least my experiences and what I've dealt with. You hold on to something, you're not thinking about what it's doing to you, you're just holding on to it, you don't want to let it go.
So, in the best interest of the veterans, would you guys, I mean, you say you have these different organizations. I'm kind of thinking maybe opt out of, I know you say it's free to see the doctors at the VA for you guys, but being that it don't seem like they are actually addressing the issues that most of the veterans
You gotta vote
have.
the right people in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
it's unfortunate. I mean, excuse me. So like, there's exactly what you're hitting on. It's the snake in the saw, right? Like, right? It's the snake in the saw. You're holding on to it. But think about, so I was a medic in the Army. I've seen a lot of things, nasty things, right? So it's not that I know about therapy. I understand it. I currently work in healthcare IT, right? So I've been in healthcare my entire adult life, even from the military and on the outside. So I understand the inner workings of healthcare. But navigating the VA system is not easy. And I don't care who you are. Even to this day, I still have a problem trying to find who the right resources are. And I'm pretty dang resourceful. So just imagine for those people who don't understand something, how to navigate that system, who may have come out with PTSD, who may have come out with, an amputated leg, although that's a little bit easier because it's physical and you can see that problem.
Easier to get that rating.
Exactly. You can't quantify, mental health type issues. So when you talk about those things, can we just do that? No, we can't. We have to vote. You have to be able to go out there in these small elections to the bigger elections. And I don't mean to force the conversation in that direction, but just look where we are in the climate. And you're asking about those veterans. That's a big ticket item right now for asking all of the Democratic candidates, what are you going to do about veterans health care? What are you going to do about mental health, veterans mental health? That matters right now. It matters, and it matters for our Vietnam vets. It matters for Afghanistan. I didn't go to either one of those. I was in Bosnia, which is a thing people didn't talk about, right? But it was a big deal, but people don't understand or know that. So, you know, so navigating the system, to just go back to your question, it's not that we don't seek it out, we don't know how. And the resources that they have out there, you have to research the resources. And for some people, you don't have that. If they can't find regular health care, they certainly can't find therapy.
Hold on, but John, I think Mark, because he's been in the military. I want to hear Mark, because he's been in the military.
So, I kind of have a completely different view of this. I was in a rapidly deploying unit. I had 6 or 7 deployments total. And every time we got back from deployment, we had to see a mental health professional before we could even go on leave. So when I got out, it was awful, because I had a lot of panic attacks, anxiety, PTSD, all that. Okay. I couldn't get in to see anybody for 6 months. So I just ended up, there's a ton of veteran resources, but you have to find it, kind of like what Brandy was saying, which takes a long time and a lot of work, but like, it's kind of on you, you know? And I know the military like tells you, keep it in, but if you find the right resources, it works.
If you find it, if
you find it. Before you, Darren, John.
I just wanted to respond to, you know, like therapy in general, right? Everyone knows I run our behavioral health center here. And first of all, I just want to say, like, it is our honor to hear you share your stories today. And that sharing a story, you know, sharing your personal story the way you just have, takes a lot of courage. So, I mean, I just think it's amazing at your strength and your courage. I mean, therapy is a really personal thing, right? It's a very personal thing, and you know, when I think about therapy, I think about, you know, we all have a lot of complexity in us. Our brains are complex, our hearts are complex. You know, each one of us has a different, you know, cognitive and abilities to analytically think. And all of those things play into our readiness to like open up in therapy. So I wanted to reflect that. It's really a personal journey and a choice, and it's different for every single person that, you know, and I've been doing this work for 30 years. Every single person's journey of therapy is different. So I wanted to, you know, congratulate you on your courage and strength.
Thank you, and Darren, I'm sorry, but we're out of time, and I see people leaving one by one. I'll be here by myself. But in wrapping up, Brandy, I just want to say this. I just pulled I'm pulling some recent information. When you talk about being political, I know we're not being, but 24% of veterans with disabilities have lost their jobs under the current administration. So you know, so leave that where you at. I haven't finished investigating that, but I want to say thank you for sitting in and listening in on our fireside chat with you. I hope that you have gained something, a little bit more that you know coming in that you know out. A couple things that I ask of you as you depart here. Please fill out the evaluations for me, please, and so that we can know, you know, are we serving you correctly with our diversity and inclusion program. Number 2, make sure you sign the sign-in sheet so you can get credit for it. And number 3, make sure that you take a piece of cake in honor, and that will say thank you. Take a piece of cake in honor of all these. So I'd like you all to give one big hand of applause to all of our veterans. And I want to say a thank you for my esteemed colleagues here who took the courage to come out here and talk with me and let everybody else hear your stories. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your afternoon.